San Jose at Theta headquarters. I'm Wes Levitt, head of strategy here at Theta. In person, back in our office from Amsterdam, so excited to be here with the team. And of course, you know the two guys next to me.
Well, welcome back, Wes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mitch. I'm the co-founder CEO.
Oh, me, Jay, also CTO of the company, and glad to have this opportunity to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, it's been a while since we did our last AMA. Great timing, obviously, since there's a lot going on these days. For those of you who have been living under a rock, the mainnet 3.0 is just 1 week away. And we've actually got some updates on that right now. If Jay, you want to kick off from on the technical side?
Sure, yes. So as we speak, right before this AMA, we just rolled out our Guardian node for the Theta 3.0 release, right? So if you check your Guardian node right now, you might see that it's updating itself, right? So,
real time, as we speak,
right? This is very exciting,
yeah.
Right? And then turn the clock back to Monday. So we set the final switching high for mainnet 3.0, which will happen on next Wednesday, June 30th, noontime Pacific time here. So that the final countdown is officially started. And in the past 24 hours or so, we have worked with our enterprise validator partners to update their node. So I'm glad to announce that all the validators have been upgraded to the latest version for Theta 3.0 release.
Awesome.
Right. So and then for later this week, we are going to roll out the highly anticipated Elite Edge node. Yeah. So that at that point, then you see it firsthand. Your Elite Edge node is connected to the mainnet. And then maybe early next week, then we'll update the wallet so that you have an interface to stake your TFuel to the Elite Edge node right after the switching height is hit, right? So we want to be fair, so everybody will get a chance, right, to be able to stake right after the switching height.
Super exciting,
right?
Definitely. Just around the corner.
Right. Yeah.
Just about a week away, and I see a bunch of people in chat talking about a bunch of interesting things. But nobody really talked about mainnet 3 other than people talking about our merchandise behind us. so what's the deal with our merch? I guess you guys are seeing sort of the first glimpse of our new, mainnet 3.0 merchandising, if we're going to call it that. I think we're going to be doing some interesting things around that. We'll announce a little bit later in this AMA.
Yeah, you can get some exclusive versions of this merch, even more limited edition, but we'll not give away too much of the surprise just yet.
Yeah, very exciting. Cool. All right, so do we have any interesting questions in chat?
I think it's just lots of it's moving a little fast, so we may have to.
Yeah. Hey guys, can you guys slow down your messages? Stop waving. Okay, hi guys, stop waving. We can actually read the questions. Well, we do have, we do have a question that's been queued up and submitted ahead of time, so we can get right to it. The question being, as a validator, does CAA, Creative Artists Agency, plan to make NFTs of celebrities from their agency for Theta Drop? For those of you that don't know the background about CAA, they're one of the top 3 talent agencies in the country, along with UTA, United Talent, and WME, Williams Morris Endeavor. And so we've been working with CAA for, I want to say 4 years now, going back to when we first raised a seed round of financing for the company that is now Theta Labs Inc. So originally we were in the live streaming VR space, and so CAA invested into our equity of the company. And of course, being an investor, we've been collaborating with them on multiple areas over the last few years. And really, in the last year, we announced our sort of NFT vision and our whole platform for smart contracts. You guys recall back in, I believe it was August, September of last year. And we've rolled out our NFTs on the Theta TV platform in December of last year. Some people may not actually know this. So we definitely saw an opportunity around this whole space fairly early on. And CAA, certainly we're part of those discussions. We've, of course, as investors, we briefed them along the way. And as you guys saw last few weeks, we announced CAA becoming enterprise validator. And so the short answer, yes, getting back to the question, is absolutely. We're talking to CAA in a very deep and meaningful way. across a number of different celebrities, and maybe something will happen sometime this year. So we're pretty excited about that. That's a really important part of our platform and our overall strategy.
Definitely. Yeah.
While you get to the next question, they're asking if they can see the hat. So you can't quite see it here. So it says join the network and has a great Theta logo here. So I'm sure this will be a hot seller. Looking forward to seeing you guys sporting these.
Awesome.
I did see someone real quick ask about the TFuel payments for the Edge node for June. Yeah, just so everyone knows, no worries on those. You'll see those come in July with the rest of them. Talked a little bit about that in the mainnet update blog that went out in the last couple days. But yeah, once process for July, then they'll just be done all at once. So apologize for the delay there, but it's on the way. No worries. Okay, I see some good questions coming very quickly, so I don't mean to be biased against the short ones, but if you write a 5-line question, I can see it for about half a second. I know what's going on.
Well, I caught one question that just flew by, which is, Wes, how's Amsterdam?
Yeah, that is a good question. I like it a lot. It's very similar to San Francisco in a lot of ways, as much as a foreign country can be, but a lot of the same vibes. Easy city to get around on foot, on bike. And they have a growing tech scene as well, which I think is really promising for Theta. More generally, though, it's kind of the idea of why we'd be considered a European office in the first place for a while is just because we had some good presence in Asia, and of course we're based here in the U.S. The third largest hub, probably say for blockchain development and tech startups now in general, is Europe, where we haven't had a stronger presence. So now that the continent's starting to open up, I'm looking forward to getting back to developing the Theta community out in Europe, hitting the conference circuit, and especially focusing on the developer communities out in Europe. I have a lot of strong blockchain developers in Berlin, for example. That's where we haven't focused on as much in the past, but building up the Theta development community with more hackathons and more different applications built on top of Theta is going to be one of my big focuses out in Amsterdam.
Yeah, definitely. So just a few days ago, right, we pushed out the news that we are developing a Web3 like Ethereum adapter, right, which will translate our RPC API into the Ethereum format to follow their convention. So with that, when that is ready, then a lot of good project from Ethereum can be ported into Theta without changes, right? Hopefully without changes. So like Wes just mentioned, then European has a large developer community, right? We want to see you show your talent in developing more application on Theta. So maybe with this release, then you will have easier time to transfer from Ethereum to Theta.
Yeah, that was actually, I caught one of the other questions that was submitted ahead of time about what we're most excited about regarding Theta for the remainder of the year. And that's actually what dovetails a lot of what I was thinking is it's going to be easier and easier to build on top of Theta, thanks to a lot of the work of JE and his team. Sort of the creature comforts of Ethereum that make it a lot easier to build smart contracts, even though they can run today on Theta. There's lots of ancillary tools that just make it simpler to port apps right over, including plugging into the same APIs. And I think that just opens up a whole world of new apps to be built on. One, because existing apps that exist on any other EVM-compatible chain can just be slotted right into Theta with no changes. But it also means that the developers that have spent years gaining experience and solidity and developing an Ethereum environment can also slide over, even if it's for brand new apps on Theta that haven't ever been built on another chain. You've probably seen a lot of chains that have tried to build their own, make their own brand new language and build development community around that, but it's very tough when Ethereum's got such a strong dev core. So we think the much wiser decision is to go to where the developers are and let them make it easier for them to work on Theta rather than start from scratch.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's all part of what we're going to be sharing a little bit more in our AMA today, sort of this next generation of the platform that we're building. I know mainnet just around the corner is 1 week away, but the team, JE, and everybody here at the office, we've been working on sort of the whole next year planning already. So we're looking forward. We're working on updating our roadmap and also our overall sort of arching development plan going to spring of 2022. And a big part of what you'll continue to hear today is what we call sort of Theta ecosystem 1.0. So I think we're probably going to be retiring the mainnet kind of concept. Now that we're in mainnet version 3.0, I think it's getting to a good level of stability and maturity. But I think the theme going to next year is an overarching ecosystem, and how do we make sure that each of these stakeholders of our ecosystem is successful, which includes not just the developer community, which will continue to, which will be a focus of ours, but also, all the Guardian, the Validators, stakers, all of the elite edge node operators, all of you guys that are doing that out there, our video platform partners, our brand partners. So all these different pieces will come together. We'll be most likely putting out a new white paper later this year as well, with some really interesting sort of economic ecosystem that we're putting in place. So do expect that in a few months. But we're really excited about that. I think that's going to bring a lot of the various pieces that we're working on in a very coherent and it's a real nice synergy among all the stakeholders. Which kind of dovetails to one of the questions I was submitted earlier as well. And Wes, you're still trying to read the chat, right? That's flowing by.
I'm tempted to, although I see a whole lot of one-word Coinbase, which I'll just get out of the way. Not going to be any talking answers about exchanges, no matter how much it's spammed. Unfortunately, I know it's a popular one, but
unfortunately, I think we mentioned this in the last AMA. We, for various reasons, including regulatory and legal reasons, we cannot talk about exchange listings. But we do hear everyone loud and clear. We've been hearing that for a while, and yes, it's been at least 3 years, right, since we've. And you never know. Maybe we'll be listed on U.S. exchange when we hit top 5 or number 2 after Bitcoin. But it's certainly top of mind for us as well. So one of the questions I submitted earlier. What are the different sector problems that Theta will be solving by year 2030? So we're talking about 10 years, right? Next 10 years. And what's your vision for Theta in the next decade? 10 years is 1,000 years in the crypto space, right? So it's hard to think, I think for any of us to think about 10 years down the road. But what I can say is sort of our thinking about this entire media and entertainment space, right? We are the leaders in the space, and I think that in the last 3 years since we've launched Theta, everybody's sort of recognizing that we're becoming more recognizable, and we're getting a lot of inbound sort of interest in collaborating with us and working with us from brand partners to platform partners to a number of different folks interested in working with us, and so that's really, really great. Being the leaders, we command sort of that premium leadership, if you will. So, my view, what's happened, I think, particularly in the last year and a half with COVID, as we all been stuck at home, and you've certainly seen a shift in sort of media habits, right? Being on Netflix and being on Disney Plus and Amazon, all the other OTT streaming services. But I think everybody's ready to get out there, right? As countries are opening up, to go back to sort of this whole live experience and being social and being at a cafe or attending a concert or going to a movie theater. And I think that's going to come back, and it's come back in a big, big way. And so what we're seeing, particularly. If you think about this overarching 5-10 year sort of time frame, think about back, 20 years ago, I think it is, when Blockbuster was around, right? Those of you that are around the Blockbuster had a huge business on, when you subscribe and you get these CDs, right, in the mail, right? And of course Netflix came in and sort of ate their lunch. We're really beginning to see that. It's been happening, but it's going to accelerate this traditional live broadcasting on OTT and broadcast networks and cable networks. So that whole trend is shifting towards online, right? Towards digital and OTT. and that's going to happen even more so, I think, with getting back to normal, back to the live experience. So sort of that's a big theme that we're going to be talking more about over the next year with the Theta ecosystem 1.0. The live experience to us is not just the live streaming that occurs on platforms like Theta TV and Twitch and YouTube Live from creators, but it's also about the live experience when you go to Vegas and you see a live concert, right? Live residency, for instance, or when you go to a sporting event, or you go to a boxing event, or you go to whatever in person, and so a lot of that content will flow, and Theta is in a perfect place to leverage that, and what's even more exciting is the fact that when you have these live events happening, there's a real interesting opportunity to get fans engaged, right, through these NFTs, right, and non-fungible tokens, digital collectibles, and actually own a piece of that experience, of that special moment, right? I mean, wouldn't it be great if you could attend a concert and there's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and then for those other million people that can attend in person, they can actually still participate, and that's really exciting to us. That forms a big part of our vision moving forward.
Yeah, even if it is for the people who do attend. I mean, I still have an envelope full of all my old ticket stubs from every show I've been going up to, at least up to a certain age I did, and I think that same concept and that same feeling, that's something that NFTs can bring to folks like that. I didn't even have it to show off to anyone. I don't post pictures of it on social media, but that collectible feeling that people understand. But on top of that, now this is something that you can show off as a collection to anyone. It can be part of a sequence. Like, I imagine being able to show that you went to all 10 shows of like the last tour ever of your favorite band or something along those lines. I think these ideas are just getting started. They talked about it a lot, but now as live events start opening them up, along with NFTs having developed far enough along, we're probably going to see the first time of that explosion of these working together.
Yeah, and that's part of our strategy for global adoption, right? I tweeted that, I think it was last week, and we really believe it. I think that this whole live experience really opens up beyond sort of these crypto enthusiasts that I think we're all part of. How do we open that up to millions and millions of fans of any number of different celebrities that may be out there, for example. But this also ties in a little bit to the patent that we announced just, I guess, earlier today. Mm-hmm. So it's very timely because we got that notice of pending approval just yesterday, last night. So it's all real time that you guys are seeing. And a big part of that patent that Jay and the team have been working on, you can share a little bit more as well, Jay, but it is really this concept of applying NFTs in very unique and novel ways, and it's something we've been hearing from a number of our partners. This concept of a virtual ticket, for lack of a better description, where it's decentralized, there is a unique key and it's identifiable, that you are trusted, you have the rights to that content, right? The DRM piece, the digital rights management. So that's all very, very exciting, and that's really an important piece. Right, imagine MGM Studios, Lionsgate, or any of these media companies. That's one of the key criteria, one of the key things that they want to make sure that protect our IP, right? And so this is a big part of our strategy.
Yeah, really. So we view NFT not just digital collectible, right? Digital collectible probably is the first step, but there's a lot more application NFT can be applied. For example, in this pattern, we are extending the reach of NFT to digital right management, so that we are paving a way that to be able to stream the licensed video content on a fully decentralized network, right? So imagine that you're holding this NFT, and then you which represent your right to watch a movie on the first day. Of course, and then you can watch it, and which is more interesting is that let's say you can even trade it, right, with someone else, right, on a secondary market, right? So this create a market for this movie watching experiences, which is not that easy to be in today's world where you have a physical ticket. Right? So by having this pattern, we are really kind of looking in the future to see what can be done, what are the potential, and then what are the need from the future.
Right. Just think about fan engagement, right? A lot of companies and a lot of projects talk about fan engagement. Right. But the best example you can think about that, say, if you have a movie studio that's launching a new movie, right? And now they're leveraging not just opening the theaters, which is great, but also sort of secondary, sort of second screen, right? Sort of on OTT and streaming platforms. If you own that particular NFT, then you have that one out of the first 1,000 to be able to watch the movie. Isn't that amazing, right? And then let's say that you value that being first at whatever, $100. You can put it out in the secondary market. Somebody may be willing to get that, be one of the first for $1,000, right? So it creates a really interesting sort of engagement among sort of those early adopters or the enthusiasts or the movie buffs, right? And that word of mouth is what causes sort of that mass swell and the marketing, the promotion, which is what all these studios are looking for. But today they spend millions of dollars trying to advertise on banners and websites and whatever, which we all learn to ignore. But this concept of using NFTs as an engagement, as a marketing kind of vehicle is really powerful. And I think those are sort of a lot of the new models that our particular patent really enables. And it's super exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Catch any other questions?
Yeah, so will the fees change as the price of TFuel rises in order to stay competitive? So, necessarily competitive is the right word exactly, but most likely we'll turn to a market mechanism at some point to reflect basically what's the demand necessary, similar to how you've seen it on other protocols. Jay, you may have some thoughts on it as well, but I don't think the market mechanism itself is the problem. On ETH, you've seen the market for gas became a big problem, but I think that's more just because of the bottleneck of how slow ETH is and the lack of a layer 2 solution, or at least up until recently. So I think that those bottlenecks were the problem, not the market mechanism itself. That's a good thing, just as long as like it's a freeway acts as a clearinghouse for cars, but it's a big problem if you don't have enough of them. But if you have enough roads for the traffic, then the mechanism itself is okay.
Yeah, totally agree. I can see that in the future, let's say, because we can support much higher throughput, right? And then this fee structure probably will stabilize on its own on some kind of reasonable range, so that everybody is able to use this network with a reasonable cost, but also this fee structure also can protect the network from being spammed, right, by bad actors, right? So it can achieve both ways. So we will leave it to the market to determine the best price.
I think that dovetails pretty well to the next question. I'll submit it ahead of time as well for you, J.E. right now.
Okay, yeah. So I see this question. Do we have plan to reduce the minimum staking requirement for ETH node, right, to promote network growth? So initially we're setting this minimum staking to be 10,000 TFuel, right? And also there's a maximum of 500,000 TFuel, so that we want this ETH node not just concentrated on a few nodes, but have a large number of nodes across the globe. Right? So this is just the initial value. So after it goes out, then we'll constantly monitor the network, and then we can, as we go, we probably can discuss with community, and then to decide whether we need changes to both of this parameter, right? We always want a larger network. We want global adoption. So at some point, we might decide to change this parameter so that the network is more inclusive, right? Have a larger presence, so which will be good for all the stakeholders.
Right. I saw a question fly by around our Theta Drop marketplace and when you can withdraw from the Theta Drop marketplace, and so we're working on that. It's as you know, it's fairly complex and involved, which also includes KYC. So we will require the full KYC to withdraw the funds, but I believe that will be enabled over the next quarter. So it is coming soon. Certainly not a year out, but within next quarter.
Yeah, we know that's a very common question, and in general, KYC is not always the most popular, but we unfortunately don't write the regulations, and that's just the way it goes, especially when there's an exchange mechanism there. You've probably seen the same among all
NFT platforms you're seeing out there. So fortunate, but we're working on as quickly as possible to get that functionality out there. Going a little fast again, so I'm sure these are great questions. When it slows down, we'll answer some more. But
we need to add a new feature to Theta TV to do the slow, right?
Yeah,
the
slow chat.
Feature, right?
Yeah. Okay, but we can jump into the next one while we're to get a good balance between the pre-submitted questions and live ones. This question was, what support Theta team will provide for teams planning to build on Theta Network with smart contracts? In this case, a user is planning to use NFT as a login mechanism for a gaming project they're going to launch. First of all, great timing again. I would love for one of the first implementations of this new technology of using NFTs for authentication to be used, in this case, for a single login for gaming, for example. So a few things. As Jay mentioned, the API tools and other things that will make it easier for smart contracts to be ported over, so you don't have to necessarily start everything from scratch. Or even if you are building them, you have more tools that more easily interact with Theta TV, Theta Wallet, Theta Drop, other parts of the Theta ecosystem, all working together. And the second thing is, with more hackathons and more financial support for these projects, there's more ways we can help use the value of Theta to put it back in the ecosystem and further develop it. Both, as part of the official hackathons, the next one, which will likely start in just a couple months. But also, just in general, if there's growing ecosystem projects that are really obviously adding value to Theta ecosystem, that's how the Theta funds can be used to support them too.
Question from the chat.
Yeah, I'm doing my best.
We're trying to read the chat.
Why so fast?
Yeah, this is it just caught us a little off guard. This must be the most popular one yet. Since
I know,
feel
the last two AMAs, we've never seen chat fly by so quickly.
I know, I wasn't
Any
interested in
concurrent
that, but
viewers?
I suppose that's a good sign.
I did see a question fly by way back there, which is, how do we get the name Theta? You guys remember this story? Did we talk about it? We told this story in past AMAs, right? So you guys remember, it was, I think it was the summer of 2017 when we were first sort of faced with this challenge, our own pain point, right, at that time of live streaming these very large-scale VR 360 game streams around the world, and we're faced with all sorts of challenges, right, being able to do that on a real-time basis, right, to different parts of the world, right, South America and Middle East and Asia was very, very expensive, and the quality was pretty poor. So that's when we started thinking about sort of the streaming ecosystem and developing a token around that. And the original name, we thought, was called Streamcoin. It was Streamcoin. And then we ran with that for a week or two, and then we have forgotten to do a simple Google search. So we ended up doing a simple Google search, and apparently it was somebody had already taken that.
Right.
And so we remember one afternoon we went to the board in the conference room and go, crap, we need a new name, right? But we didn't want to, spend too much time, waste too much time on a name, because we had more important things to do. And so we just went on the board and said, we're not leaving this conference room. We got exactly 2 hours, and we're gonna find a new name. We'll get a new name. We'll Google it this time. And I don't know if you guys remember, at the time there's a project called IOTA. IOTA, right? IOTA was doing IoT. It was doing pretty well. It was completely unrelated, and we said, hey, maybe this whole Greek alphabet might work. So we started going down Alpha. Well, that doesn't quite work, right? Because that's kind of like a software beta, software thing. Gamma, and anyway, so that's how we got. And then we ended up moving down the list to Theta, and Theta was.
Which I really liked how I think that was more of a just pragmatic way to, we've got a deadline and we're going to get something done here now. But I kind of like that it actually isn't something so totally tied to video, because even though that's streaming and videos are main focus of it, it also kind of pegs people's expectations or people's knowledge in a very specific thing. Whereas, not call yourself Streamcoin, and that way it doesn't box yourself into the way things are evolving and the way, in some ways, they've become more overarching in media and entertainment, and the brand's established just as Theta, not as streaming. So, yeah, I think it worked out, even if it was more of a, we have to get this done today.
Yeah. And later we also have the name for the secondary token, right? So it's just Theta Fuel. I really like this name because it worked exactly like a fuel. So fuel, you get it from the gasoline you get from the oil, and then you turn it into some kind of gas, and then you burn it, right? So while you're using it, you burn it, and then which is exactly the mechanism TFuel is working today. Mm-hmm. So you use that to power a smart contract, to run a smart contract, and after it is being used, it's completely burned, right? Yeah. And then the Theta stakers can get new TFuel generated, and just like you mine the fuel from the earth, so it's just like cycling, just exactly works like fuel.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Which is now a super important part of our crypto economics, right?
Yes.
That we announced a few weeks ago, last week, right? That we increased the gas fees, right? The transaction fees, and across our smart contracts and across our payments, and I think that becomes an important part also.
Yes.
As we move forward as part of mainnet 3 going live, that is going to be additional TFuel burning, which ultimately get to a point where we can have enough transactions in our network, and we estimate somewhere around 500,000 to 1 million transactions on a daily basis will essentially get us to a point where we are not inflationary from a TFuel standpoint, but and then over time for that to potentially even be deflationary, which would be fantastic, I think. And the related question that's often also come up, is do we as a project view Theta or Theta Fuel as who's the baby brother, right? Who's the big and there's a lot of sort of questions around that, and I think those are legitimate questions and concerns, and I think just to kind of set the record straight, it's really important that for everyone to know that Theta continues to be our governance token, and so that is a core. It is non-inflationary. It is fixed at 1 billion, and it's very, very important that continues to be the anchor for our entire ecosystem. Theta Fuel is an important piece of that. There's always a lot of discussion in the community around this ratio, and not exactly sure where that ratio eventually land, but I doubt that at any point that the ratio that TFuel will be at a higher ratio than Theta. But they'll move in lockstep, and I think over time at some point that will stabilize and it will get to a good point. But absolutely, Theta continues to be the core of what we do, as well as our the video and data delivery, right? That continues to be the core of what we do. Everything built around that. And I gave this example. We had a little get together with the Theta OGs in Vegas a few weeks ago. It was good to see some of you in person there. And one of the questions that came up was, do we envision Theta being any less focused because we have so many different initiatives right now. We have introduced that was the original video delivery, data, sort of edge nodes and computing and NFTs, and the way that we view it, and that we view when we think of when we speak to potential partners, right? Particularly these large global enterprises in the media entertainment space, and when we talk to them about decentralized CDN being a viable option for their platform, they say, this is really great and this is meaningful, and we see the engagement, we see the cost savings, and those conversations are really great. Now, I think those conversations has been supercharged with the NFT discussions, because now we're sort of moving from the infrastructure guys who work within these global enterprises to the marketing teams and the content teams that are talking about and asking us, well, how can we grow our revenues? How can we drive additional customer fan engagement through these NFTs? And so in some sense, these new initiatives actually helps us and actually guide us and actually enables us to get into these accounts in a much more meaningful way and be able to take action very quickly. And then from there, a lot of those discussions then flow across the company, and that's how we view that. So I think on the contrary, these various initiatives again center around Theta at the core. This is why, again, moving forward, going to spring 2022, we're putting our thoughts together around the Theta ecosystem and the crypto economic model that will kind of enable all these different stakeholders to work together.
Yeah, it's a great way to think of it, not as necessarily distinct entities, but it's like different pieces of a software suite that all could be valuable to a big enough enterprise that has their hands in a lot of different things. And each one that works and we start developing with is a way to also then pull in other pieces of the Theta ecosystem. When you're dealing with some of these companies that are big enough that they need decentralized video, they've got content forms that can use NFTs. It really, every piece of that Theta has built is something that could be used by them.
Right. Take for example, MGM and Lionsgate. Right. We were. It's not a secret. Right. We've been collaborating with MGM for quite a while, and we were in very deep discussions with MGM and their CIO team over there. Of course, we know that became part of the acquisition process with Amazon. But it began with the content licensing deal, where we licensed some of the content, we established a relationship, and from there evolved to discussing a great level of detail around direct-to-consumer strategies that MGM, sort of similar to sort of Disney Plus type of strategy, right, and their OTT and streaming services of their own, and having Theta power that, right, so that's very exciting. And then from there, we started discussing the opportunities around using NFTs as a launchpad for new movie releases, and how does that tie into both the theatric release of movie theaters as well as within their own direct-to-consumer app, right? And so those discussions all kind of came together, and if you think about all of that, right, the common element is Theta powering all of those components, right, including NFTs, and where those NFTs will reside in the future. Right, you got to own them. When you own them, means you can take them with you anywhere. So those NFTs being stored in our edge network and in a decentralized manner, and having the cross-chain bridges to Ethereum and other networks becomes super important, because we're one piece of all of that. So in that example with MGM, all that really comes together, and it becomes it goes beyond using us operationally as to solve a particular problem, to thinking about Theta as a strategic partner, and that's a very significant difference. And those are the meaningful types of relationship partnerships that we are working on, and that we hope to announce, over the next few months and over next year.
You mentioned the cross-chain bridges. That's another question that I saw come up in our pre-submitted ones that, Jay, I know you had a lot of thoughts on. Specifically, they asked how a cross-chain bridge between ERC20 or Ethereum-based tokens or other chains and the native Theta tokens can look in practice. For example, is it via MetaMask, or how would that work exactly?
Yeah, this is a great question. It's actually one of our initiative after Mainnet 3. Where we kind of focus on this cross-chain aspect, right? So, just a bit of background. So, in the past few years, we see that Ethereum has been developed into almost like a hub for a lot of interesting applications. Notably, the DeFi and a lot of NFT marketplaces now reside on Ethereum, right? So on our day one, we didn't view Ethereum as a competitive platform, but we want to be kind of having a good relationship with the developer community on Ethereum, so that we are building this bridge to connect the two platforms, so that first Theta, TFuel, or even potentially Theta, right, we can kind of wrap it into some sort of ERC20 token, and then transfer from the Theta network to the Ethereum blockchain. And there, then people can potentially use this wrap Theta and TFuel to participate in a lot of interesting applications, be it DeFi or NFT, right? So that participate them in a very meaningful way. So that's one possibility. And vice versa. So on Ethereum, there's a lot of different tokens like ERC20 token or other tokens. Then potentially they can also be crossed to the Theta network. And then we have some interesting application on Theta blockchain. And then there might be some kind of chemistry happen, then chemical reaction happen that we didn't anticipate, right? People can build a lot of interesting application on Theta network that we didn't even be able to think about today, right? For example, just use NFT as an example. So now we are issuing this WPT NFT on the Theta blockchain. But think about in the future, what if you can take this NFT and cross-chain and then deliver it into some other marketplaces on Ethereum, for example, OpenSea or Rarible or Nifty Gateway, right? So that this way, then we are able to open a new set of potential users, and then open another set of secondary market. So that will be kind of very interesting. And of course, then if someone is buying a NFT on this OpenSea, then potentially they can transfer it on to Theta network. Then right. So this kind of synergy between the two blockchain, I think will have effect that 1 + 1 is larger than 2.
Mm-hmm.
So regarding some of the technical aspects, for example, whether MetaMask is going to be required. So what will happen, I think, in practice, then whenever you transfer your NFT token or some token to Ethereum, then because MetaMask is almost a de facto wallet for Ethereum, right? So then you'll be able to use this MetaMask to transfer this token on Ethereum network. Then whenever you transfer it back, because we also have this Web3 initiative, then MetaMask will be able to interoperate with the Theta network. So you can continue to use MetaMask to host this NFT and transfer it to other person to trading. Mm-hmm. So that's how we are viewing this kind of on a more user-facing or technical aspect, how this will work.
Make it super easy to use, right?
Right.
Really great user experience.
Right.
And also a lot more liquidity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For these items. Oh, should we? Should we try? All right, guys, we're going to try an experiment. This is a live experiment. I'm going to tweet. Okay, this is what you guys want to do. I'm going to tweet a smiley face, right? My famous smiley face. And by the way, do you guys know why I use a smiley face?
I doubt they do.
Well, it's a really simple reason. I'm actually kind of lazy. I know a lot of projects, a lot of CEOs out there, they give super elaborate, discussions and answers. And you know what? I just want to keep it simple, right? We can communicate through a lot of different means. But sometimes I'm just excited and I tweet a smiley face for no real reason. So I'm going to do that now. And so here's a social experiment. I'm going to tweet. And then I want you guys that's watching us right now respond with 2 words, right, to my tweet. Global adoption. Okay? And then we're going to see who isn't watching us and is actually putting other comments in the tweets. Okay? So here you go. So global adoption. Okay? Respond with global adoption. All right. So my tweet just went out. Which by the time you see this, you'll see it on your Twitter, because there's a little bit of delay actually. Right? When we live broadcast here in the room, you actually see it within 30 seconds. So by the time you guys see it, there we go. Now you guys see it. Respond to the tweet with global adoption, and we'll see what it looks like at the end of the AMA session. So very exciting. Oh, so I see you guys typing global adoption in the Sliver chat, but also what I'm talking about is typing global adoption in the Twitter response in Twitter. Anyway. All right.
Either way. At least not clearly people are listening.
Good. Global adoption. Yeah. That's going to be 2022 for sure. Okay. Great. So we have, I think, another submitted question ahead of time, and question is, at what stage is Theta at in terms of project growth rating? Is it a 1 to 10, early to maturity or mature stage? To be honest, we've been in space now for a while, and it feels like forever, but it really still feels like, and I give this example a lot, it really still feels like 1998 internet, 1999. We're very, very early stages, and And I would say that Theta is even at an earlier stage. I mean, on a scale 1 to 10, I think we're at 0.1, maybe 0.5, to be honest. I mean, there's so much, I think, ahead of us. And if we just think about media entertainment sector in itself and the applications of the different elements and the different sort of the value chain that occurs within media entertainment, it's a hundreds of billions, $1 trillion market, and it touches on so many different points and so many consumers and so many businesses and so many enterprises that's in the space. Because entertainment encompasses not just sort of what we think about as movie studios, right, or traditional content, but it's gaming, right? Gaming is a big part of that. It includes digital rights, anything that has to do with digital rights, right? It's sort of the live experience again, right? Those are all different parts of the space that we're in. So we're extremely early. We have a vision of sort of what we want to be when we grow up, right? And when we grow up is 3 to 5 years from now, right? And we have the opportunity to build something really, really great. It's something that will last beyond any one of us potentially. And we want to get to a point where the project is fully decentralized, right? Which starts with our enterprise validators, right? Which we recently announced, the HVC being sort of the fintech space, being one of our investors who's running a validator, along with the CAA, which is our first foray beyond the traditional tech companies being validators, right? The Google, Samsung, and Sony's. And I think that will continue. And so decentralization continues to be a very important part of what we work on. And it also ties in again to our ecosystem 1.0 strategy going to 2022. So 0.1, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely fair. It's in crypto in general. It's kind of become a cliche to say it's early innings. There's a lot more to come, but all you have to do is look around to see how obvious that is when there's so many companies out there that are integrating Ethereum or starting to use it for very, very minor proof of concepts. So, Fortune 500 companies buying Bitcoin for their balance sheet as a hedge against inflation. You've seen the first couple companies doing that only in the last 6 to 12 months. So across the board, even though for some of us who have been in the space for years, it feels like we've been through the ringer many times and seen cycles. But to the vast majority of enterprises and people out, even just consumers out there, they still have barely even scratched the surface of what's possible to it. And when you start seeing, once you start seeing half the Fortune 500 and every central bank owning some Bitcoin, and then maybe I think we can talk about how we're at the 7 or 8 or 9 for crypto, but we're still a long ways away from that.
Right. Yeah, so totally agree. So I think currently, we are still in this initial exploration phase, right, where people are starting to doing experiments, right, especially those bigger companies. But eventually, I think blockchain is going to eat the world, right? Just like software is eating the world. So we are still very far away, light years away from there. But I expect that in the next few years, the field will be evolving really rapidly, really fast, so that we will get there sometime.
Mm-hmm. I did see someone in chat once it slowed down after your tweet, Mitch, because everyone jumped to Twitter real quick, so it slowed down a bit. And I saw someone asking about plans for a Linux Edge node. Since that's been in demand for quite a while. Jay, you got any news on that?
Yeah. This is a very popular request, and then I do have some good news for you guys. So. Yeah, so we are working on that. So we already have a Docker version of a Linux Edge node, and then we are going to release it either later this week or early next week. So that so that
there you go.
Yeah,
real time next week.
Right, next week.
Sure, we're gonna make it.
Right.
So make it before mainnet 3.
So running this Edge node version will be just copy paste a few commands, and then you can get it up and running. So simple as that, less than 1 minute. In the first version, then this Edge node will only have the Edge cast and also the staking feature. But as we go, we are going to add the other functionality to it, right? So that hopefully later down the road at some point it will be more feature complete, right? You can use to do storage, computing, and a few other things.
Terrific. That's great news. And I don't know for community members, those of you out there, how much we all appreciate what JE and the team is doing here at the company. Is really, really amazing. I mean, if you think about from a technology standpoint, the complexities around our core blockchain, right, at the protocol level, that in itself is hard enough to do and to do well. And knock on wood, right, for the last 3 years that we've been live, the chain has never suffered any issues, right? And so that in itself is hard enough, but the team is also working on so many different peripheral components, right? If you think about it, right, it's the Guardian node, the Elite node, right, the Edge node, the wallets, ledger support for Theta, right? All these, Theta Drop, Theta TV. I mean, think about just the number of products that we have. Most projects probably have, hundreds of potentially even thousands of developers, but we don't. And, we're a very, very, very small team, but we're very good at what we do. I mean, I don't want to be too overly confident or arrogant by any means, but I really think our development team does the work. Each person does the work of 10 or 20 developers out there, and I think that's just great, great team that we have.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, you mentioned ledger support real quick.
Oh yeah, I did.
That's fun. So long-awaited myself too. We're hoping to have it live as early as next week.
Next week again.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is somewhat dependent on the process with Ledger Team. They have a pretty strict and thorough review process because it's the security of your tokens at stake. So of course they're not going to rush something through while it's still being reviewed and audited and such. Fingers crossed that we'll see it next week, but either way, it should be very soon, and it's in the final stages with Ledger Team working with our engineers.
Good. Let's not all drop it on June 30th, right?
Yeah.
On May that day.
Save some interesting things for the weeks following.
We don't want 5 announcements all happening on June 30th. maybe we'll push one to July 1st. Right?
Yeah, maybe spread things out a little bit just so that, especially on the technical side, JE and co don't have to deal with 5 releases in the same day, but we'll see.
We can handle 10.
Oh, all right. We can do it. Just don't drop some major news or something on June 30th there, Wes.
Yeah, I'm the one who's usually out there going loose and making announcements, so you got to watch out for me. I'm a loose cannon.
You're a loose cannon. I think I'm the loose cannon, right? The community is egging me. I was like, what's the next big, announcement and partnership?
Yeah, they asked me explicitly not to try to discourage you from making any exciting announcements. So if you go there, I'm not going to say anything.
All right, just wait for June 30th, guys. Great. So let's see. We have some more questions from pre-submitted. Okay, so when do you project these large global corporations who are current validator nodes to start implementing Theta into their product lines and services? So that's a great question, right? So we have a great set of partners who are enterprise validators, and as most of you know, we've been working with them for a long time, right? The Samsung, the Sonys, and CAA, et cetera, et cetera. And so, within these large global enterprises, if you think about running a validator node is actually a huge, huge deal, right? So with Google and with all of these guys, we've been in discussions with them in some cases over a year to, for one, it's a comfort level with blockchain technology, right? Or crypto holdings, right? Think about from their back office standpoint, from sort of their finance and accounting standpoint, be able to account for that at such a large scale, global company. Comfort level there, going through sort of a lot of the legal aspects, right? Making sure that all that is squared away from their perspective. And so we're able to get past that first hurdle, which means it opens up all sorts of doors, right? So if you think about one of our enterprise validators, partners, owns one of the largest film studios in the world, right? And absolutely we're talking to them about various forms of collaboration. If you think about, one of our other partners, mobile gaming space, and so they just recently pinged us, say, hey, we're launching a new blockchain-based game that has sort of a NFT and collectibles kind of opportunity within the game itself, and can we work together to launch that and to market that? And that's another great example, right? So I mean, those are all just different examples of some of our validators that we're working on, and then some of them, they take a while, right? They take some time, just like we said earlier. Adoption, we're at the early stages, but we have a huge opportunity ahead of us. I don't think I've ever been more excited about where we are as a project than right now, right? And the future is, I'm just ecstatic. I mean, I think there's so much that we haven't yet announced. We've got it queued up. We have major announcements coming up over the next 2 to 4 weeks. And I wish I could share right here, right now, because I am really excited. But these are game-changing partnerships that we'll be announcing, and I think we're really excited about that.
Yeah, just echo that. These validator nodes are often relationship builders, not only for us because it gets us to know the team, it gets a lot of the legal agreements in place so we can use their other talk to you about using their other services or working with their other services, but also on the other side as well, a lot of times what we're finding is there's people that are very big crypto enthusiasts or really understand the technology inside these big corporations, but that's not true yet throughout the entire corporation. So you have these blockchain champions, if you will, that are trying to be evangelists within their own groups. And they've still got people that they're trying to convince, maybe on their executive team, that don't see the light yet, and they are still skeptical about this thing. They saw a bad headline on Bloomberg about Bitcoin going down in price, and then decided blockchain's not worth the trouble or something like that. So it works the other way too. Working with Theta and running an enterprise validator node is a way for them to have their company start building inside knowledge about how blockchains work, get comfortable with how holding assets like tokens work, and that sort of gets the first couple steps done so that they can more easily go to the teams they need to convince inside about why they should be using Theta. I saw a question live that's come up a few times asking about it's a little kind of in the nuts and bolts of the Theta Wallet about when we'll be adding two-factor authentication. So I've seen this one come up a lot, and it's actually kind of a misunderstanding of how 2FA would work because Theta Wallet is totally non-custodial. You own all the control of the wallet on your side, and we don't ever see any user info on that. We don't even know if you register a wallet. It's just an interface for you to generate a private key or key store, mnemonic, however you open your wallet. We never receive anything on our side. So the way 2FA would work is we store some user information that then you check that against, or we check that against what your device, in the case of Google Authenticator, and allow you access to your wallet. Much like Coinbase will choose to allow you to get into your Coinbase account if you use your 2FA. But it doesn't work like that because we can't deny you or grant you access to the wallet. You're the only one who accesses the wallet. So we understand 2FA is very popular because crypto fraud is a big problem. We can talk about that. It relates to another question that we got pre-submitted. But putting 2FA on the Theta wallet would mean basically we were no longer saying you own that wallet and you own that address free and clear. Now you need the permission of Theta side to do that, and that's just not how we're operating the wallet. Understand it's a common question because we get a lot of concerning support messages on our Discord and Reddit saying there's people impersonating Theta team. This is a problem throughout crypto, and we know we've seen this unfortunately a great many times. And it's very sad because we've seen a lot of people get phishing scams and get their crypto stolen. You may remember, you even had Vitalik himself change his Twitter handle to say he's not giving away ETH because people were impersonating him so much. While I'm not nearly as famous as Vitalik is, I saw someone else mention the other day that there's a fake Twitter, Wes Levitt, who apparently has even more followers than the real ones because you can buy a bunch of fake followers. And
we report these people to Twitter, to Discord as soon as we can. But it's tough because social media is, you don't usually wait for an approval process. When you made your own Twitter handle, you just got it and started tweeting. Unfortunately, that kind of open platform means it's easy for the bad guys to do that too. We do our best to take down these sites and report these people on social media, but we can never be as fast as seeing the next one come up. So the important thing is also always be vigilant on your side. Never trust anyone, especially if it looks like me reaching out to you or a Mitch or a JE. Just, we're not reaching out of nowhere to ask you questions or to offer to help. If anyone looks like they're trying to get your private info or tries to send you a link, just always be careful, because it only takes one time for someone to steal your private info. And in crypto, as you know, all transactions are final. There's no way to reverse them, and it's unfortunate, but that's just the way a blockchain works, and there's no way to get it back if someone does get your private info. So always be careful out there.
So I'm looking at my tweet of the smiley face. Holy smokes, that's a lot of global adoption, guys.
I think you might have got more comments on that than anything you've ever tweeted before.
I know. At least on my Twitter shows 588 comments.
Wow. Within how many?
Within 17 minutes, guys.
10 minutes. Oh.
You guys gonna break Twitter here? Holy smokes! I think we ought to change it from global adoption to global domination. Huh? What do we think about that, guys? Global domination. I like it.
You got to be careful with that. I saw in one of the Theta Guardian channels, they were making Skynet Theta memes earlier.
Oh my goodness.
About how Theta will actually be, Skynet taking over the world. And now here you got Mitch talking about global domination. This is getting dystopian very quickly.
That's a lot of global adoption. I love it. Oh, I love this experiment. We should do this more often. Next time before I do another smiley face, I'll just we'll just go live on my wherever on Theta TV, and we'll do it again together. This is awesome.
Make it an NFT. A special moment.
An NFT. Speaking of that, yeah, I think we'll break the news now. We will do to commemorate our mainnet 3. We are planning to do a Theta. What are we calling it? A Theta Godzilla NFT Drop. ThetaZilla NFT Drop. Supposed to announce it on Friday. Go live on Monday, I believe. So about 1 or 2 days before mainnet. Give you guys all a chance to get a bunch of cool stuff. I think we're gonna have a lot of merch, the stuff behind me, and other interesting designs. And so so expect that and prepare, be ready for it. So next Monday, I think we'll announce it on Friday. ThetaZilla NFT Drop. So
Very cool.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, if you've been around at Take Me, you've probably seen some really great designs along those lines. So we'll save those for the official announcement. But you'll really like the designs for these. They're really next level.
Okay. So that pre-submitted question, there's one related to mainnet 3. So how will TFuel staking reward be delivered, and how often? That's a good question. So the TFuel staking reward will be delivered in a similar way, similar to the Guardian node. So basically, you stake the TFuel from your wallet, right? And then the staking reward will be delivered, back to that staking wallet directly. And then because we have to accommodate so many TFuel stakers, because there's so many edge nodes out there. So for TFuel stakers reward, we will also incorporate the randomized mechanism. Right. So, but I think the good news is that for each checkpoint, I will expect there are more TFuel staker will be rewarded than the Theta staker. So, which means that as a staker, you might see more consistent reward coming in, right? So the fluctuation will be smaller. That's what I expect. And then hopefully this will be a better user experience as well.
We actually kind of covered this a little bit, but expand a little bit more on one of the pre-submitted questions I saw about how is video content secured on the network, and
This particular user asked how could Netflix jump on board and keep their video content safe. So as you probably guess, it relates to the patent that was just pending or approved and is now patent pending, meaning effectively it goes into effect in just a few weeks. That's a really critical part because it is a very big issue for these providers to put their content on what to many of them still feels like a very scary thing when you say peer-to-peer. Even though that's not at all how Theta works at a technical level, that a whole generation of folks in the content space associate peer-to-peer with their IP being stolen. And of course, that's not how Theta works in the first place, but it is true that it is legitimate for them to ask, how do I know if the data stream that's being relayed between nodes isn't somehow interrupted, or there's a man-in-the-middle attack where they somehow fake being a legitimate node and get access to data they couldn't. So having this NFT that's generated each time to authenticate a user and basically sits at all times on any valid node that should be getting that stream is just another layer of protection for these video platforms to know that it's not possible, cryptographically, it's not possible for someone to generate that limited NFT again, since there's only a fixed number of them verifiable on chain. So only the users who bought the movie or go into an online festival and they are the only ones who are allowed to get the stream, they can more comfortably use a peer-to-peer decentralized video network like Theta without having to always wonder if one mistake on our end means everyone has access to this stream. It's verifiable that it's not the case using this new NFT-based DRM.
Great. Let's see. What else? Is Mitch Liu really Batman? Oh my God. Was that really in the submitted questions?
It really was. If it wasn't, I would have thought to plant it, but no, that one really came in.
No. If I were Batman, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I think of myself more as Godzilla.
Godzilla.
There you go. Let's just say them.
Yeah, so when you're getting ThetaZilla, it's a 2-for-1. You're actually getting a Mitch NFT.
There you go. There you go. Let's see. Wow, a lot of people spamming. Can you shout out Big Dog and Bix? And we're here through them. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for directing all the community over. Yeah, appreciate your support.
Yeah, it's definitely, as you guys know, Theta wouldn't be here without the community as much as,
definitely.
We have some smart folks developing good technology here. Especially peer-to-peer technology, if it just sits here in our small space with no one ever adopting it and using that, then it doesn't really accomplish much. So it's only with the community support that this makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure. And in our little Vegas get-together a few weeks ago, I kind of shared a bunch of different stories with different folks there. And the truth is that we wouldn't be here, me, J.E., Wes, and entire data team wouldn't be here without you guys. And it's very true. We went through a lot of the ups and downs, and it's never a straight path. It's always challenging, the things that we work on, both from a technology standpoint, from a market standpoint. But all of you believed in us sometimes more than we believe in ourselves, right? It's kind of silly to think about it that way, but it's really you guys out there kind of giving us the support, the encouragement, and that's what keeps us going, right? And sometimes it's long nights. Sometimes it's really tough problems that we're trying to solve. And so yeah, thank you for all that.
So really relevant question out there, and about asking Wes, when do you plan on cutting your hair? Which I don't know if I'm supposed to read something into that, but. Let's say no plans, but I'll think about making it an NFT for you.
Yeah, maybe we can deploy smart contracts so you guys can vote on it.
That's a great idea.
We'll think about it. Let's talk about that offline.
Let's vote on cutting Wes's hair.
First step, shaving your beard.
Yeah, always the case.
There you go.
Also asked
asking why Mitch is repping Banana Republic instead of Theta.
Oh, Jesus.
I have Theta here.
Yeah.
Theta, there you go. TFuel here.
I got the
You got
hoodie
Theta.
on here too.
I got out of bed this morning and I really didn't. I actually was kind of embarrassed. I kind of forgot about the AMA. I just grabbed this T-shirt out of my closet, and I should have changed into that. But I guess Banana Republic. Hey, you never know. Maybe Banana Republic wants to do something NFTs. Maybe I'm dropping a hit.
Hey, John. Well, when we make that pitch, then we could say our relationship goes way back. Founder's been repping you.
There you go.
As long
Right.
as,
I've been wearing Banana Republic for the last 20 years.
I got another pre-submitted one here. Jay, you might be able to touch on this one. How many more enterprise validator nodes will be added or can be added to
Right.
the blockchain?
Right. So at the protocol level, we have a total of 31 slots, right, for enterprise validators. So currently, we already have 16 slots, right? Or 16 validators. So which means that another 15 more validators can be added to the network, and then and act together to govern the network, right? So and then of course we are constantly working on getting more enterprise on board to run their validators. So towards the end, then as a point, then we should have way more external validator than what Theta Lab operates, right? And then they will truly decentralize the network. And actually, as of now, even with the current 16 validators, I think the number of external validators has already exceeded the validator that Theta Lab operates, right? So, which is a nice, good first step toward decentralization.
15 more 15 more slots available,
Right.
We have a long ways to go. We're just getting started. I think we're gonna be it's gonna be pretty exciting. The next 15 that we bring on. I saw earlier a question about delegated staking of TFuel to edge nodes.
Right.
Do we plan to? Actually, that's a good question, right? Do we plan to allow for that? And I think the answer is probably not, right? Because of the fact that we want to encourage the community to run as many edge nodes as possible, right? And to be as global and decentralized as possible, right? Providing that proof of uptime, right? Did you want to add?
Oh yeah. So Mitch, maybe you mentioned the sense of whether we want like other people to run this edge node, right? Actually there's so currently we indeed provide the option. Yeah. So for someone to stake to any any edge node in the network. So I'll say that so on the one so this actually also in some sense also good for decentralization as well. So because say we can anticipate that, let's say maybe there's some people may not have access to a good hardware, right? But there may be some community member have better access to good hardware, and then which will provide more utility to the network. So then in this case, if we allow the user that hosts a good number of TFuel but doesn't have a good machine to be able to stake to the other person's machine, then actually this may end up with a good effect that again like 1 + 1 may be larger than 2.
Interesting.
Right? So right, it kind of marry different just marry different good things together, right? So I have TFuel, and then you have a good hardware, and then we can work together, right, to increase the network. And then in Theta 3, we actually introduced a new functionality where to allow the edge node operator to get a fee for this hosting service. So this could be very interesting, not just for edge node but also for a guardian node. Right. So that this actually can incentivize like some people which is maybe more technical to be able to run a large number of edge node, which will add utility, add capacity to the network, while allow other people to stake to it, right? And then increase the security and also the utility of the network. So
yeah, and that's a good compromise because it allows delegate staking, but without forcing it. The effect you might not want, where all
consolidates to 1 or 10 or 50 edge nodes, as opposed to forcing it to maximize the number of edge nodes.
Right,
so you
right.
still give people the ability to delegate, but without compromising the original goal, which is add as many edge nodes and make it as robust a network as you can.
Yeah. Speaking of that, because we are placing a maximum limit, right, of how many TFuel one can actually stake, right? So that even for an edge node operator, if he want a lot of people to stake to his node and then earn some fee, then he still have to run a large number of edge node in the network, either in the cloud or on his local private data center, right? It has to run a large number of nodes. So this will, the end result is that our network become stronger, right? Can deliver more, right? Can host more data, right? So which will be beneficial to the whole ecosystem.
Makes sense. Yeah. So I think I stand corrected, right? The goal is to expand the network,
Right.
and to allow for, and we have the ability to split some of that payment, right? For folks who's delegating. Sounds good. There's another pre-submitted question about even though Theta Labs will not stake TFuel, which we announced that, right, in a blog a couple of days ago. So we do not plan to stake any of our own TFuel. Is TFuel staking still open to our Validator node partners? So the answer is yes, it is open to them. But as we talk to a number of our validators, they do not plan to stake their TFuel. So we are really looking at this as being community-driven and entirely community-driven TFuel staking against these edge nodes. So
Yeah, and even if they chose to, they'd be subject to the same restrictions to have to run as many edge nodes as necessary to do that. You couldn't be a validator node with a massive amount of TFuel and just only stick it to one edge node. They would have to contribute with many edge nodes being operated, just like everyone else would have to.
Right. No exception.
Another pre-submitted question that we thought was interesting from before. This is, what is the significance of patents that Theta has already and those that are in process, and does it protect Theta from competitors? Yes, this is one that we're not looking at so much as necessarily protection of competitors, because it's true that it provides that, but like you may have seen a lot of, especially early stage tech companies, really just being first to market and developing this technology when we're moving at a fast pace like you are in crypto, is you're moving ahead of someone simply being able to steal it anyway. It's very difficult for someone to just develop their way ahead of it when they're not the ones who created it to begin with. Even if something's open source, that doesn't mean someone also has the skills to take that and then be better at you at developing the next steps in the roadmap.
That's right, and I think we talk about this a lot. We don't view our patents as something that we want to use aggressively against competitors, and protecting ourselves from the competitors. Right? It's much more of a discussion point when we are in conversations with these large global enterprises. Right? They see us as the leaders, right, in our space, and they recognize our technology and our depth, and the patents simply reassures them that there is real value that we've created and we continue to create. And are we stopping our portfolio patents? Absolutely not. I mean, we'd love to have a portfolio of 100 or even 1,000 patents by the time that we're done with this journey, because that really gives us an unfair advantage and a great competitive advantage as we speak to these large global enterprises and large partners. And I can tell you, many of these conversations that's with new partners, this has come up, and it's really been very, very important. And it's a combination, those patents, a combination of great partner validators, which are great names, recognized names, brand partners, and all these things, right? Whenever one of our potential partners, they think of Theta, we want them to think of, NASA and MGM and Lionsgate and Google and Samsung and Sony and all these guys all on the same line, and CAA, right? And that's, we're in good company. So we really view it that way. However, having said that, I think if any of our competitors do infringe on our patent, I don't think we have any hesitation to protect ourselves. So I think we're very serious about that, and I think that's how we continue to be a leader in the space that we're in.
One question we got from before that I thought was an interesting one is why are we working with members of the crypto community of the NFT marketplace instead of artists? By artists, I assume traditional artists, a painting, if you will, or a digital drawing. And we're open to work with others, but for us, it's because a lot of this evolved for us around being in the video space and having these crypto influencers that came to us that because of either a prior relationship with Theta TV or just because they saw what we were building in the NFT space and wanted to release their own NFTs to engage with their community. So, it was a little bit that we got this inbound interest, and the best way to know if this is something that you should be built and you're meeting the private market bid is when the users themselves are demanding it. So, that's sort of the thinking there is that let's build with people we know who are asking us right now to use these. And of course, it's not just crypto community, it goes beyond that with WPT and some of the more mainstream partners that are building NFTs the same way and with Theta. So I see the crypto community just as one piece of it, but that's sort of why we think of things that are more video-centric and media entertainment-centric versus the way a lot of other NFT projects have gone, where they're thinking about just bringing art to be digital.
Let's see. I think we'll go on for another 10 minutes or so. 5:30, right? 5:30 here.
Yeah.
Let's see. So lots of great questions coming in. Still. Will there be a replay of the stream? Yeah, I think we're recording it, right? We're recording, so we'll make sure to post that up there.
I saw someone asked when more DeFi dApps, and also someone asking when Aave comes to Theta. Both of those things touch on what we're excited about with the development tools Jay was discussing, because it will make it very easy for users to port those over directly. So I'd encourage users to do that themselves, and when the next Theta Hackathon launches soon, put it this way, I think you would be, if you yourself or a team of developers you work with brings Aave onto Theta, I think that they'd be very likely to show well in the Theta Hackathon. So whether it's because you are involved in the Theta ecosystem more broadly, or if you just want to win a hackathon prize, I think we'd look very favorably, and so would the community vote on bringing Aave or any of these other high-profile DeFi apps to them yourself.
Great. Another pre-submitted question. Are you guys afraid that market conditions or fluctuations could hurt Theta Labs and Theta TFuel long term? Surprisingly, I think we get asked that question quite a bit, right? We obviously we're in the crypto market, but the truth is that I think most of us in the team, we don't really look at the market conditions on a daily basis. I think it is just too distracting. I think we are thinking, we'd rather spend that hour or the attention, on forward planning, right? We just last week, right? We were in the conference room, a couple of us, kind of whiteboarding sort of, our ecosystem going to spring of 2022, and what's the right crypto incentive mechanism for all the stakeholders to be successful, and planning around that, and looking at our product roadmap going to 22. And to be honest, that's what we spend most of our time on, because sort of these market fluctuations it really doesn't matter, because we keep developing technology. Mm-hmm. We keep driving global adoption, right? We keep talking about that, and because I think we've begun. I think the last time I talked about hypergrowth, and I think we talked about it in December of 2020, And to be honest, I think we hit the tip of the iceberg on hypergrowth. I mean, really, the last 6 months, we're just seeing a little bit of it. We've got so much more because the adoption is around the corner, and that's what we're focused on. I think the short answer is that we're not worried about any of these market fluctuations. Because in a span of 3 to 5 years, it doesn't make any difference for us, right?
Yeah, I believe in the 3 to 5 years, and looking back, all this fluctuation will become like a straight line. So,
That's true.
You don't even see it. You don't even see the bump. It's just a straight line. So.
Yeah.
So there's another question. We talked about Linux version of EdgeNode. That's on the way. I saw someone asked again, in case you joined late and missed where Jay talked about that, potentially as early as next week.
Yes. So it will be a Docker version. So just a few lines of command, copy paste, and then within a minute or 30 seconds, you can have this EdgeNode unbidding version running connected to the mainnet and ready to get staged.
Yeah, and then another pre-submitted question was asking about if we see Lionsgate or MGM or other film companies expanding their streaming on Theta TV. Be nice to have 24/7 films, build audience, get more average folks onto the platform. Yes, actually, there's a few specific companies that are going to be bringing more films to Theta TV, and we agree it is a good mechanism, even if we're building a lot of technology around Theta TV and not necessarily taking the strategy of let's go raise $500 million and try to make it the next Disney Plus. It still is beneficial as a way to build adoption of the other data technology we're building to have more mainstream audiences in that, expand the box a little beyond just crypto folks who, they're pretty savvy to what's going on with data and other cryptos in general, but the ones who maybe are tuned in for a new movie, they're the ones who you really want to get to see trying out this new technology anyway.
Well, maybe we can take 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap it up.
Sure. Let's see. So, someone asked about an update on Japan whitelisting. So that's it's a regulatory process we talked about for a bit, and it's a longer term question just because the process is pretty lengthy, but it is one we're focused on, and we have worked with Gumi, or are still working with Gumi about what we can do on that process. Don't have an update to the public on it, but just I guess the update would be that still holds true, what we announced in the blog a bit ago, that we are working with them about the best way to handle that process and which exchange to use. So, as soon as we have a better, more information on that, we'll share.
Great. Well, I think maybe to wrap it up, let's see. Where are we on our tweet that we put out? Let's see. 44 minutes ago, right? The smiley face went out. 706 responses.
So wow. Each confirmed viewer is responding, right? We have about, how many? 700-ish?
Yeah.
Wow. Viewers.
We got about 100%.
That's pretty good engagement right there, right?
100% engagement, so.
Awesome. Global domination, right? So we're seeing a lot of domination now, in addition to adoption.
It's
all good.
The people who were not watching the stream are just going to see that, and the cult of ThetaZilla.
They're going to be
global domination.
Yep, they're going to be surprised. Awesome. I think we're going to wrap it up, right? Yeah. Thank you guys for spending this time with us. Those of you that were with us for the last hour and a half, we enjoyed it, and hopefully this was productive and that we shared some meaningful information. And stay tuned. There's a lot more that we'll be announcing over the next several weeks. We just couldn't squeeze a lot of the announcements in before June 30th. But mainnet is just one stepping stone for us, and we continue building. We continue building towards next year, 2022, and beyond. So thank you. Thank you guys.
Always good chatting.
Thank you guys.
All righty.
Thanks for spending
Okay.
time.
Right.
Thanks for time.